This past summer, my husband Bernie and I sorted through a lifetime of accumulated stuff, like high school yearbooks, VHS movies, and our children's elementary school art projects. Can you believe we had held on to their art projects for over 20 years? Must have been their Picasso-like genius that made it so hard to let go. We gave away to Goodwill 22 boxes of books and 25 boxes containing clothes we may never fit in again and household items we no longer need. Our adult daughters came over to help empty their childhood rooms. That night, after they left, I woke up at 2 a.m. terrified that they had thrown out the baseballs given to them when they were small. It hit me at 2 a.m. that these baseballs may or may not have been signed by Ken Griffey Jr. and J-Lo's ex, A-Rod. It hit me that these baseballs that my daughters had not valued might be valued highly by someone. So the next morning, I went dumpster diving in search of those baseballs. I managed to get in and out of the dumpster without injury, and I'm happy to announce my search was successful. Gordon Greaves, because you are the biggest Mariners fan I know, these baseballs are for you and your son, Ignacio. As most of you know, Recovery Cafe walks alongside individuals recovering from trauma, addiction, and other mental health challenges as each seeks healing from past trauma that weighs us down and robs us of current joy, as each lets go of what no longer serves us. Gabor Mate, acclaimed trauma expert, asserts that underneath every addiction, there is trauma. He also says, for trauma to happen, we do not need war or genocide or divorce or abuse, although all of those things are traumatizing. For trauma to occur, it is enough not to have been loved the way we needed to be loved. Not being loved the way we need to be loved can produce an overwhelming fear of abandonment. And that, too, is trauma. In short, the experience of trauma is more prevalent than most realize. In addition to the painfully obvious need for affordable housing, there are at least 4 responses desperately needed to help heal trauma and the continuing results of trauma, like addiction, depression, and anxiety. I think of these 4 responses as 4 legs of a table. The first leg is a healthcare system that views physical and mental health as 2 sides of the same coin. The second leg is prevention. The third leg is treatment on demand. And the fourth leg is ongoing, authentic community. This morning, I would like to focus on that fourth leg, authentic community. First, authentic community is the place where we reclaim our true identity. It is the place where we shift from taking our identity from our trauma or the results of our trauma, and we begin taking our identity from our deepest, truest self. I'll say more about this identity shift in our video. For now, I'll just say this identity shift requires some daily practice of connecting with our truest self, the place of vast, unconditional love at the core of our being. That practice takes root and bears fruit, not in isolation, but in authentic communities like the 27 recovery cafes. That practice might be prayer, meditation, time in nature, movement, creative expression, or simply being fully present to the person right in front of us. Which brings me to the second dimension of authentic community, which makes the healing of trauma possible. Being both deeply known and loved. Being deeply known without being loved is terrifying. And being loved without being deeply known has no power to heal or transform. As most of you know, in our communities, the structure that holds together being both known and loved is called a recovery circle. An 80-year-old member of my recovery circle lives with significant physical challenges, but takes 4 buses to get to her recovery circle each week. Don't we all need a place where we are embraced just as we are and held to who we say we want to become? Surprisingly few people have such a place. Psychologist Carl Rogers put it this way: almost always when people realize they have been deeply heard, their eyes moisten. By that one simple fact, they have been released from their loneliness. They have become a human being again. Which brings me to the third dimension of authentic community that is essential to the healing of trauma. In authentic community, everyone is a contributor. All of us long to contribute. We need authentic community to help us discover the gift that is ours to give. For it is in giving our lives that we find life. When we contribute the gift that is ours to give, it connects us to needs beyond ourselves and a purpose greater than ourselves. We begin to see that those we once ignored or even despised are members of our human family. Connecting with others who are suffering also connects us with the abandoned parts of ourselves. As we reach out to give to others, the healing we need is given to us. Often the greatest gift we give to others is the gift of our own struggle. One of the co-founders of Recovery Cafe Frogtown, which is near St. Paul, Minnesota, recently shared her experience. Her father had died of COVID-19, and she was on the verge of relapse. So she started looking up recovery support on the internet when she came across the Recovery Cafe Network website. As she read about the model, she began to weep. She knew this model was not only what she needed, but what she wanted to give her life to creating in Frogtown. I find myself wondering all the time, what if we as a nation truly understood that addiction is a symptom of trauma and isolation. What if, instead of abandoning or incarcerating individuals suffering from addiction and other mental health challenges, we create authentic communities in every town and city across the U.S. and beyond? Communities where all of us, members, staff, volunteers, supporters, claim our truest identity, experience being deeply known and loved, and discover the gift that is ours to give. That is Recovery Cafe's vision. Thank you for helping make that vision a reality.